Hello, everyone. Ali Fakih here, CEO, founder of AIAC. I'm honored to have with me here today Mr. Jim Thompson, City Manager for Loveland, Colorado. I had the honor and opportunity to work with Jim when he was at City of Scottsdale. I'm so excited about this. A lot to uncover. Jim, thank you very much for joining me today. Jim, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing really good. I appreciate you joining me. I have, like I look back to our relationship, and I'm so fortunate and lucky to get to know you and get to know you more on personal level lately. I mean, I love that. I love your approach. I love how your brain work. I love how your like insight from the public, from the private, how you bring the big picture together. It's been so enlightening. So thank you for joining me here.
Oh, you're
So
quite
we
welcome. Thank you.
so we've been, like I mean, I have how much I have a lot of respect to you and you've done, and I always, like we go into what we do for a living, right? Especially on the development side. And from your perspective, you've seen it from all sides, right? Not just the development services, you've seen it from everywhere, from all of the department and whatnot. And like I always wonder, what do you see like the biggest challenge development have right now? I mean, and like, is it infrastructure? Is it, and when I talk about infrastructure, I'm talking about all department. Is it challenging quality of life? What do you see in big picture a new development challenges are, and what they should consider to fit in the new environment, I guess.
You know, it's really different by location. Yeah, and it's the old saying in real estate, right? Location, location, location. And so it's no different for cities and what drives them currently, right? Some cities it's an affordability question, some cities it's a quality question. Um, but I think in general, what we're seeing on the development side is that there's the energy out there, and right now interest rates are high. So you have a little hiccup there going on. We're not sure where that's going to land. And there's always something, right? We had the pandemic, we had the recession before that. So you live in these peaks and valleys, right? And catching the peak is such a key because if you don't, then you got to wait for the next peak or be on the upside of the swing from the valley going up. And that's the ideal spot to be in. And so we're in a good spot right now. I think that, nationwide you're seeing, homes still getting built. You look at the top 10 areas in the country where it's occurring and why it's occurring there. And so it just continues to grow. But not just on homes. I think the commercial, we've seen changes in that. The pandemic caused some of that, but office buildings are coming back. They were a yesteryear, back when the pandemic hit, people moved out, but now there's the hybrid. Now people are bringing people back into the office for various reasons. So all of those channels are causing things to occur. And then you have the redevelopment side, which I think is also, very interesting. You're starting to see a lot of redevelopment and different things, but things have changed. Now we have alternatives to transportation that we didn't once have, and some other things that are causing differences of what's constructed, how it's constructed. Well, one of the big hiccups you always run into, because time is money in the development world, and cities may see it a little different. For them, it's really the time factor does not enter in as quickly or as predominant as it would be otherwise. And so I think that's where the nexus stands, and that's why I think there's opportunity abound to really help on both sides of that to understand that equation. Because for every dollar that the developer's paying in holding costs, that's one less dollar they're going to put into the project because they have kind of a preset ROI that they promise the investors or they have on their spreadsheet, and they want to achieve that. So for every dollar that you hold up in a day that you're sitting on financing costs, that's a dollar less that they could put in the quality of the project. So if if we have that mentality, I think we land in a very good spot. And it's really about moving that forward as quickly and as efficiently and as effectively as possible. So,
Yeah, one thing I had a discussion yesterday with a good friend of mine, developer, and the one item that probably that us on the private side we don't fully grab is the economic of the city, right? So we were discussing, it's like if you come in and you create alignment early on with the municipal, and it's like, okay, you know what, we're doing this to create a sustainable project, be here for a long time, we want to make money, we want the city also to make money. We want the city to be proud of this project. We want the city to be happy that we're doing this development. If this alignment happened, right, now they're both pushing for the same goal. So it come into the economic part of it. Is what how development fit in the overall city budget usually? Like, is the intent or the goal for a city or municipality to bring more development, to create more revenue? Is this a big source of revenue from, sales tax or whatnot? Or we've seen some pushback in development, right? So how does it play in the economic? I'm really curious, you know?
It really does. So when you have that stimulus, may it be a redevelopment project? Because
Yeah.
you're taking something that's ran its useful life, you're now creating a synergistic center of some type, right? May it be whatever it may be at the end of the day, and which lane that you're in. If it's residential, if it's multifamily, if it's commercial, and there's varying degrees. Cities tend to want to have that balance in the community because you're really trying to, there's the old saying, I don't remember, years ago, we had the Sim City software, right? Where you built your own city and see if it could be self-sustaining. And that's what it's really about, is having something for everybody in the community, because then you attract a very diverse and it makes it a better community at the end. So I think that you touched on it, is that having that partnership between the developer and the community is key. If you both see advantages in moving the project forward, it gets moved a lot quicker than if the resistance comes out against the project, because then you have the political overlay, you have the challenges associated with that, you have concerns from citizens showing up at the public meetings and making comments that may not be factual based, and then you got all the blogs and everything else out there that throws at it. So if you could have that partnership up front, you come together and move forward, that's the best place you could be, and everybody's happy with that at the end of the day.
You mentioned obviously the stakeholder and the neighbors. How can this partnership happen also between municipality and the city? Because and the neighbors. I mean, I serve on public boards before, and sometimes also you feel like there is a skepticism or misalignment between the neighbors and the city in a way, where sometimes the neighbor feel like the city is not doing the right thing for, or they don't have the best interest for the neighborhood. And you hear the same thing from the developer. You will be on the same project. I will hear it from the developer that we're getting so much pushback from the city. They're giving us hard time on the project. And then the neighbor says the same thing. It's like, oh, the city is making the developer so easy, so easy, and they don't have our best interest. So it seems also there is a misalignment on the vision, I guess, and the direction between sometimes municipality and citizen. How do you think this could be resolved? I mean, or do you agree with that? So,
I totally agree with that. That's the norm, right? And times change, people's desires change. It's no different. You get a store coming forward and people tell you, I want it to be X store. And you're like, well, the market doesn't support X store, so we're going to have Y store. So you got to deal with that. Probably the biggest key is communication and notification. The sooner and quicker you get out there, the better. So an example, a development comes in and next door there's vacant land. And let's say that vacant land sits bare for 10 years. Somebody finally acquires it and they're going to do the next phase of the project, which was originally approved 20 years ago.
yeah,
The neighborhood there are like, well, we always thought it was going to be open space. We don't want that. So what you need to do is your cities need to get progressive and they need to post signs up saying future expansion of road or future project. And really it's about communication and identification, so everyone knows when they come forward what that potentially can be. Now, when you have a rezoning, yeah, then you have that process to go through if you're going to rezone. But that happens all the time because market dynamics change as such, where supply and demand are meeting is where you need to meet, and cities need to be flexible to achieve that
yeah.
for the greater good of the community. But you have general plans, you have all of those discussions. So for me, again, it's having a tool in place that you get a quick answer. There's frustration in the community when they call in here, planners are really busy or staff's really busy and they don't get back to them right away. Then they make things up. And so what you really need to do is when they reach out to the city, they get a quick response of what's going on. And that puts it takes away a lot of the fill in the blank scenario.
This is pretty interesting. So it's not just communication, it's timely communication that maybe could reduce a lot of the frustration sometime, because sometimes probably a delay on an answer when someone didn't have chance to it. I could see how this could, I mean, snowball in a completely different issue as well,
Yeah, they take it and they run with it. So the quicker you can answer the questions, the more thorough you are in those responses, and the more information you have available to them at their fingertips or otherwise, the better off you are.
Throughout your career, and I know, I had chance to work with you previously when we were here in Arizona. I know you get a lot of calls about bottleneck on the review process, right? And I don't know if one municipality has it more than other, but I'm assuming this is common. Like everyone call in and everyone complain about permitting and like entitlement process or whatnot. How you used to manage those calls, like from your side, um, and like what usually you feel like the major issue, like when you get this call and you go talk to your staff. What's the major concern usually, and how you resolve it? What are the things you feel, okay, the problem is common, this is a problem, this is what we need to do?
I think there's a couple things that transpire in that avenue. And this is my 39th year of leading cities, of running cities. And so there's very few of us out there with those numbers, right? But I've been in from large cities, over 500,000, to cities of 30,000, right? So that spectrum over my career, 3 different states. And each place, again, is slightly different, but there's commonality in that. I think that when you really sit down and the developer calls or even staff frustration or even resident calls, again, it's about, for me, I always just say, bring them in. Let's sit around a table and let's walk through the issues of what's going on. Because a lot of times you may have a contractor that will tell the owner, the developer, and his contractor will say, well, it's the city's fault. And then the city blames the contractor. Well, if you all get in a room, now you got to identify who's at fault. So a lot of times that's what you run into. And some of it is just frustration because of the process. So in some cases, some of the jurisdictions still go from one desk to another desk in the electronic world. Everybody should get it on the same day and start the review on that same day. Now you may have a backlog, and that may be part of the problem. Somebody may have been out for a few days and that creates a backlog. So you really got to manage that in a different way than what's been managed in the past. Again, developers are frustrated because they're trying to invest in the community, most likely millions and hundreds of millions of dollars in some cases.
Yeah.
Every day it costs them a lot of money. And on the city side, they really want to see the project move forward so they could have that synergistic identity occur in the community. And so if you can eliminate those bottlenecks up front and have open communication. So I always say before they submit, have a pre-submittal meeting and talk about what the expectations are on the submittal and all those other good things. So there's things you could do, and it's changed over time. Early in my career, we didn't have the internet. We didn't even have cell phones. So you could imagine everything was in person or on a call. And I could even go further and say I had a party line once where you pick up the phone and your neighbor could be talking on it. So, so it's been a long spectrum. But the same comes forward every time. And it's really about just ensuring you're all on the same page. And so when you have an issue, you don't just let it sit there for a week or two and send it back. You immediately make contact and communicate. No, it's really back to communication. Ali, I really think that communication is the key in all of this, with the residents, with the developer, with the city, with the contractor, everybody that's involved in the project. And the other thing is that I share with city staff often that when we complete a project, we should celebrate that. We were part of doing that really cool thing for the community to make a difference, to make it aspirational, to move it up that chain. And so you need to pause for a moment and celebrate that. And it's pretty exciting when you do, because then you're excited for the next one, right? Yeah. And it's just kind of cool. So it's,
and it's funny when you think about it, everything go back to communication, right? I mean, even from emails or a letter or in person or whatnot, and now AI coming in. I mean, it seems like where we in our field and other field too. I think the biggest challenge is communication and figuring out set expectation and early on, maybe like conflict resolution and figure out how you can overcome a challenge. I think this is common. One thing comes to mind all the time, and I'm so excited to have you because it's kind of like, again, your perspective complete different, right? So, but like I was talking to a developer, it's like, when you guys put a performa together, right? You come in and you're putting some performa for the project and how much money you will make at the exit or what the cap rate will be changing. If the project get delayed, how does it change, your financial? And they all say it truly affected. The higher it is, the ROI goes down, and this is what happened, right? So when it comes to municipalities, let's say two municipalities next to each other, um, is there a goal usually by municipality? And I know they talk about it, but truly a goal to implement that we need to reduce review time. And does this differentiate one municipality from another? Let's say I'm a huge developer, I'm calling in town, and I want to project in X and Y, and they're really next to each other. Will I really go to Y just because the permitting in X could take 3 to 6 months later, or this doesn't come in play, you think, in the decision for projects?
I think it does.
Okay.
And municipalities know that, the elected know it for sure, because if you got a big project come in and your neighbor gets it and your community's somewhat excited about it, it's not a good day, right? And so I think it is a competitive world. You try to look at things regionally because everything occurs regionally. People don't know boundaries, right? When they're driving down the road, you go from one city to the next and you really don't know. You drive down the road to get to where you want to go,
Yeah.
that thing you want to enjoy. And if you're the community that has that thing they want to enjoy, it only creates other opportunities in that community that would otherwise not exist. So I think that is there. I think developers do take that to heart, at least my discussions with them a lot of times. You're back to the point of location, location, location. So there are better communities than maybe others that they desire to be in because that's where people are moving to. That's where people are needing certain services that don't exist. So it's a market, discussion. And if you're going to build a retail or you're going to build an office building, you need to make sure that that market has the skills for that entity that you want to build, of course. So companies aren't going to come to a community that won't have the labor force that they need to be productive in whatever they're doing. And so again, a lot of those factors drive it. But having that balance, back full circle, if we have that balance, you're really in a great place and meet the market. But I think it does play into it. It really does. They're going to look at how quickly am I going to get through the process to achieve the end goal that I'm desiring to achieve. And every day, again, costs money.
And it's kind of like you get the human aspect to it. Like I've seen the excitement of municipality on special type of project and the hate on other type of project. And this is where, to your point, the balance, you need all type of project. It's not anti-development, it's having good development. But the excitement should be balanced as well on how you're building a more, like I call it balance, or I guess more integrated, like master plan on the city level. So I'm always curious because this change. Every municipality are excited on different projects. Like I go work in a city, and they would love to see a mixed-use project. I will go to another city, and they would love to see a multifamily project. Believe it or not, I will go to another city, and they want houses. They want to bring in rooftops, right? So how does this excitement happen on the big picture? Is it only based economic? Is it only based from citizen, like request? Is it only based on politics from the council? How does this excitement get to be to the top? How is city usually?
All of the above that you just mentioned. It's a complex equation, and I think excitement can be driven by your constituents, your taxpaying public, or those that come into the community. It can be driven by the council because they're desirous to achieve something during their tenure. It could be driven by the developer because they've acquired a parcel of ground and they think it makes sense because they did their analysis and they looked out 20 years and said this is gonna roll for 20 years. I really want to do this for the community and what's best. I'll take something simple as a housing project. A lot of times what happens is people say, okay, we've had enough homes, now we need retail. So there's just this belief. But what then happens when they run over and they start to try to get retail and it doesn't happen on day one and more homes want to come in and they don't allow them, all you do is drive up the cost of the homes. Then you start talking about affordability because you shut down the faucet to to match the supply to the demand. And what's your variable? Price. And so it's simple economic model. And a lot of times in municipalities, we don't look at it from an economic model. We look at it from what's going to keep our residents happy today. Whereas the developer's looking at it from an economic model. So you're in two different paths. And where you could blend those together and have those fruitful discussions, how everyone benefits, that's where the success lies. So again, just loading it up front. And
From your side as a city manager, how much of this you have to deal with? Like, I mean, all of this aspect, are you the person usually, or is the position usually where you have to, filter and funnel and take all of this and making it a vision and excitement? Or is it like, I mean, is it in your lap? How does this work usually?
it depends on the community, but for the most part, it does.
Okay.
Because I have to find that balance. I can't have the community all mad and read about it in the paper. I got to have my elected officials, maybe 5, 7, 9, and there's some cities with even more. And I've had those 3 scenarios over my career. You got to keep them content and happy with what's going on in the community. And then you got the developer who's investing millions of dollars. You want to keep them happy, so they invest more, and that when they share around their coffee time with their cohorts out there and that feel that they say it was a great experience that I had in this community. And then they get, others will get excited about coming to the community. And you want that synergy. There are some communities that don't want to see any change and any growth, but the reality of it is they really do. So they say they don't, but they really do, because otherwise things get old and aged out, and they're not happy with that either. So if we left things in place, we would still have wood water lines. And there's some out there. And you would have galvanized, which we know what that looks like. You go from a pinhole now of serving your water and your meter. So technology and change and construction and development is a necessity. Otherwise, things that we put up years ago are going to fail.
And honestly, I think it's going to change a lot more quick in the coming years. I mean, what we were imagining 10 or 15 years ago as impossible, or something that we'll not see in our lifetime, is becoming reality. And now we're going to be thinking about imagining things that is way beyond what we'll ever imagine, because we could now. We should, I mean, like I don't know about you, Jim, but I never thought during my life I'm going to see autonomous vehicle come in where I can jump in and take me from one place to another. And as little example, and this has been happening for the last 3 years, right? So I think when it come into municipal, what's your thing? Do you have a vision for a future city? Like we talk about robot cop, it's a movie now. It's reality. We talk about like a smaller infrastructure just for autonomous vehicle and one single car. We talk about like full smart cities. Well, I mean, there is so much going on, AI integration and all of the traffic control and facilitating the traffic, right? What's your vision for future city? Do you think about it? Do you have like a idea on what this will mean?
Well, that's what you always do, right? That's what creates the excitement, because change is constant in the world, and you want to be on the innovative end, and you want to constantly be looking at how do we make ourselves better? How do we become that aspirational city? And how do we meet all the different groups that exist out there today? So we have 3, 4 working groups in the employment arena now, and those groups all exist, maybe baby boomers all the way down to Z's, right? And what are the different things that each of them gravitate to? And there's some commonalities, open space and things that are just that you have to have that balance in. And so again, I think it's exciting. What will that look like? You're right. I mean, I sat in a room, probably almost 25 years ago, and we talked about flying cars, right? And this was a huge national transportation conference. And we talked about cars driving themselves. Well, today, and in Phoenix in particular, in the area, and Scottsdale and all that there, I mean, you could order your groceries and a car pulls out in front of your house with no driver. The door opens when you enter your code and there's your groceries, right? And so...
Or drone delivery, it's happening.
Yeah. And now you got drones dropping things off, and that's the next phase, is we're going to, put them all up in the air and you get it within an hour rather than waiting 2 days or 3 days. So that trend is exponential, and that's not going to stop, because we love that convenience. Convenience for us, our world is managed much different than it was years ago. And today it's all about me, it's all about now, and I want instant gratification. And the more that we could provide that, the better off we are as a city. So when you're delayed at a traffic light, and we've seen that, we've gone from traffic lights now to traffic circles because they run better. There's less accidents. There's all of those good things. So we continue to try to move cars as quickly as we can because of the inconvenience of sitting at a light. And so again, Earth will rock.
Crazy. The change like crazy. I have seen, and again, I mean, this could be by itself an amazing topic to have the panel talk about, because ideas are out of the world. The construction going to be different. The way of, I truly believe, this is my opinion, the construction will be different. The infrastructure will be different. I mean, I've seen things where house decoration, you don't need to buy house decoration. I mean, there's so much digital stuff going on where you could change your room to any design you want on a weekly basis. There is no TV on the walls anymore. You can drop a TV, a screen or a 3D, like vision anywhere. All of the stuff that taking place, it could change the size of the houses, could change, the way we get to our places. It could change our, you may have area where there is no car. You may have area where, it just, all of this are going, it's pretty.
If you could dream it, it's possible.
100%.
Right? That's the world we all want to be in.
Yeah.
We have an idea and we say, I want X, and tomorrow we have X, right?
And they change so quick. This is just literally the last 5 years. 5 years ago, you dream it. Yeah, this is really creative. Let's do a movie, right? This out there, maybe a movie in Hollywood. But today, no, it's not. It's just how quick things going. Any idea may be doable. It doesn't matter how crazy it is,
I think COVID, when we had the pandemic hit the entire world, everybody was impacted by that. And I think that literally exponentially may change. We've seen a lot of changes coming in the workplace, how we view things, how we wish to live in the future. All of those things were there, but they were slowly changing. You have the dynamics of the division of individuals and so forth. But when the pandemic hit, when we came out of the pandemic, it is a totally different place. Now I think it's true. I think we exponentially made the changes that were already occurring, that were maybe on a much slower trajectory. And now today we're there. And now when we get a taste of how quickly that changes, our expectation is we could change it even faster tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we can. And so you're right. It's unlimited.
It's exciting. I love even thinking about it, and it's fun to see something that it goes beyond your imagination and vision, and it's pretty stimulating and kind of like intellectually where can this go, and it just open it up to think about all kind of aspect. I want to be respectful of your time. I love what I do, what you do. You're always been inspiration, not just to me, to a lot of people, Jim, and I know that for a fact. I know that for people who work for you. I know for people who you mentor. I know for people who went to school and you were their professor. So I know you've been an amazing inspiration, and glad glad to have you here. I want to leave it to one thing. If you have one advice you want to give, and especially for people coming into the public service, or anything about the public service that people should know, what will this be?
I think, there's always complexities of what do you do, right? Is it job security? Is it this, is that? But the reality of it is, it's to serve, period, to serve others and to make them have better days. And so I always look at every day, I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to make a positive difference in somebody's life. And if you do that every day of your life, you live a pretty fulfilling life. And so again, I think that's it. It's about service, it's about serving others. It's about doing the right thing. It's about moving the bar a step better in the direction that you're desiring it to go. So again, I always look at that and I say, that's the key, is to really just make a positive difference. Get up and set your goal to do that every day. And you could do some pretty amazing stuff. And, leave, it's like when you, in the old days, right? You borrow a tool from somebody. You always want to return it in as good a shape, if not better.
Yeah.
You clean it up before you take it back. And that's the same with everything we do every day. Get up in the morning and make it better and make it improved.
agree on its improvement personally and overall, for everyone around us. I completely agree. Jim, I appreciate you joining me. This been an amazing discussion. I came to this interview with tons of questions. I was so curious to get your insight, and this was really fun. You always been an inspiration to lots of people, and I know you've been a mentor to lots of people as well. Thank you again for joining me, and hopefully to see you soon. Thank you.